Hello and welcome back to the wild. So yes, welcome back to the wild, and this episode is being brought to you from France. So bonjour, bienvenue, de la nature. I think I was trying to say was bonjour, bonjour, hello and welcome back to the wild. Yeah, so this is the wild in France and it's beautiful. So I'm currently away on a road trip around the Alps, and I've taken my camera and I have taken so many pictures on this whole trip, and it got me thinking about important tips and tricks to photography that I thought would be really useful for any other photographers out there. So that's why I put this together. It's going to be a two-parter. I'm going to do 5 tips now and then 5 tips for another one, and I've also got coming on the way some other exciting stuff which I'll tell you at the end, because you've got to save the best to last. So yes, let's get on with it. Tip number 1, let's go. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you whilst hiking, because that's what I like to do. 2 things at once. I'm a productive lady. That's how I roll. So if I'm a bit out of breath, it's because I'm carrying loads of stuff whilst hiking uphill. Right, so top tip number 1 is always clean your equipment, especially if you've been to a beach, somewhere dusty, somewhere sandy, because you get dirt spots on your images and they're a faff to remove in Lightroom. Also, think about your equipment. If you've got dirt on that, it's abrasive, you're going to ruin your equipment. Clean it regularly, and your sensor. Get a sensor cleaning kit. Top tip number 1, clean your equipment. Okay, so my second top tip, and this is a really important one, so please take this one on board if any of them. Do not shoot for social media. What do I mean by that? Do not go out your way to go out for pictures just to put it on social media. Don't think, I want to do that just so it goes online. Do it because you have a calling in your heart and you have that creative impulse that's like, yes, I want to do that because that sounds awesome. Do it for that, don't do it for social media. Because a lot of people lose their sense of creativity when they go on social media and then it's stupid algorithms and all these things, and then you let it impact your love for photography. So go out and take your pictures for you and only for you. And if you want to share them, do that, fine. But don't do it for social media, do it for you and following that creativity in your heart. Yes, top tip number 2. Okay, so linking to my last point of don't shoot for social media, this is about aspect ratios as well. Try to shoot less in portrait, shoot in landscape. And again, I think this is very much social media driven. Everyone thinks of 4x5 and cropping your images and all this jazz, when actually if you shoot in landscape, the old 9x16, 16x9, it just opens up a whole new style and a whole new vibe and feel to your photography. And I will give you examples of this, of what I mean. So think less about cropping, again, for social media or for anything, and just shoot more capturing that whole vast landscape. Unless you're doing portrait photography, then obviously shoot in portrait. But just do more things for you and capturing a whole scene and what you wanted to do there that day. And I'll give you examples and hopefully it explains what I mean. Okay, so that's top tip number 3. Yes. Let's put this to this side. I believe this is top tip number 4, but I lose count easily, so I can't remember. So I'm just gonna name it number 4 because it's my top tips. So the next top tip is do not fear shooting in the day, in the light, in midday. I know that's like he who should not be named, midday. We hate it as photographers, but like light, contrast, no, it's horrible. But actually, if you just use, and I'll show you right now, a cheeky filter. I've got a polarized lens cap filter on my camera right now, on my 23mm, and it's fantastic. And I will give you examples again of where I haven't used a filter and where I have. and you can go out in the day and get some stunning shots. And you can get something different, because a lot of people shoot at sunrise and sunset, as you should, it's beautiful. But a lot of people don't shoot midday because they're afraid of it, because of the contrast, the light, shadows on people's faces. But actually just use a filter, and I tell you what, it works magic. So use a filter, UV, natural density filter, or polarized. I've got polarized. I really like polarized. I think it's good fun. If you don't know how to use one of these, I can always do a little tutorial on that as well. And it sorts all those issues out, and you can go out in the daytime without worrying about melting by the sun or burning like a vampire. So that's my top tip number 4. Use filters, they're amazing. And just to top it off, they protect your equipment more. So there you go, double whammy. I like 2 things, there we go. 2 birds, 1 stone. Top tip number 4. My final top tip, which is my most imperative, important top tip of them all, in my opinion. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, let me just move this mop out of the way. She's getting in the way. That is to always, where you can, obviously, shoot in manual. Yes, I've said it. I said the words. Now, ever since I started out in photography, which was back in, I can't remember, a few years ago, 3 years ago, something like that, I have always shot in manual. I love it. I love shooting in manual. I love the challenge of getting the right settings, getting the picture that you want because you've got the right settings. I love that. I love learning my camera. I love learning that whole triangulation and the relationship between aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. And it is so important to know and understand those fundamentals, because that's what makes photography that triangle. And if you shoot in auto all the time, I feel like, personally, you're not going to understand and develop that understanding of that relationship. Especially if you're starting out, always shoot in manual, because there's a lot of cameras nowadays that are coming out that do automatic in everything. But the problem with that is you're not putting your stamp on your image. If everything's in auto, then like, I feel you can't add your signature to that image because it's taken for you. And if you want to have more bokeh, if you want to play around with more darkness or light and exposures and all these things, you can't really do that in auto. It's not the same. So yeah, that would be my top tip to you. If you want to see your understanding and your skills in photography improve, shoot in manual. You don't have to do it forever, but you never know, you might start it and enjoy it. And I've never, like I said, shot at anything else but manual. So yeah, that'd be my tip to you. Top tip. Yeah, top tip number 5. Always shoot in manual. Okay, so that's all my top tips for photography for now. That was just part A. I have part, can you guess? Yeah, B on the way. And there's some interesting ones in part B as well. I also have some exciting news that, due to popular demand and people messaging me and being a bit persistent, they've asked me many times if I can do tutorials on photography and how I edit, and I've given in. So next week I will do a tutorial on how to edit in Lightroom, starting with landscape photography, and I will break this down into landscape, wildlife, black and white, portrait, and anything else I can think of, or anything else you want. So I'm doing it. I've caved in. I've given in to the people, and I will let them have a tutorial. So bear with me. I will do my best to get it done ready for next week, next Friday, and I hope it helps. Yeah, it might not be that exciting. I don't know, it'll be my first tutorial. But yeah, that's the plan anyway. And then the week after, I'll have the second part to this. So my more top tips on the way, and there'll be more photography stuff on the way. I've just been away abroad, so I've been a bit busy, so I've had to just do other stuff. But I'll get back to photography soon. So yeah, keep an eye out next week for tutorial on landscape photography, and I will see you then. But for now, stay you, stay awesome, stay wild, stay free. And until next time, goodbye for now. Bye. That's what I like to do. 2 things at once. So bright. There we go, I did it. I set my camera up. Okay, so the moment you've all been waiting for. The finale. Oh, I've messed it up again. Which way does this dial go? Oh, he's a little sausage, Eric. Let's try that again.